Hi, this is Shoshanah Shear of BeAHappyMom.com, and in this video I'd like to follow on from the series that I already began, the series being about how to find work as an occupational therapist. We've already covered some tips and some information about finding work as an occupational therapist in the UK and in South Africa, and in this video I'd like to go to the next country give you some insight in the next country where I was fortunate to have some work experience, and that was the USA, being America. So from my work experience was going as a foreign trained therapist, and as a result I can't tell you all that much about what it's like to find work if you're an American or if you happen to do your occupational therapy training in America itself. I would recommend that if you're not yet a member of the American Association of Occupational Therapists, that you go ahead and become a member. AOTA was the first association, federation, organization of occupational therapists to be created from the history and the start of the profession. And it really is a tremendous organization to be involved in. They have so much going on so many levels. So if you're not yet a member, I do recommend becoming a member and getting involved with the various activities, the groups, the conferences, all the different happenings taking place. It's really a great way to get to know what's happening in the profession in America and to get to know whatever other information you're needing, whether it's related to the area of practice that you're looking to work in, or you've been requested to work in, if you've been headhunted like I was. So with that as a little bit of an introduction, let's jump into some more information. So the first starting point obviously is going to be that you need your degree in occupational therapy, and it is a degree. It used to be that in certain parts of the world there was a diploma. As far as I'm aware, it's a degree everywhere now. You'd need to make sure that the level of the degree is also of a level that's appropriate for working in America. If you've been experienced and been qualified for many years like I have, then you can get away with having an honors degree or master's degree. If you're training in America or you're training elsewhere, the level of entry into working as an occupational therapy is rising and rising. So it used to be that there'd be a basic degree of occupational therapy and that would be sufficient to be able to practice as an occupational therapist. That's changed and things have advanced. You now need at least your master's degree, and there's movement towards having a minimum of a doctorate degree. So do check into what the minimum requirement is. As I mentioned, I was headhunted by a recruitment company along with a number of other occupational therapists from South Africa to go and work in America. They quite often will bring occupational therapists from South Africa to work in the geriatric population. I was fortunate to be requested to come and work in a school setting in pediatrics, and I had been working previously in the hospitals, so this was a change of the area of practice for me, and it was quite a learning curve, quite exciting. There was a lot that the recruitment company did do on my behalf in order to facilitate and to enable me to be able to get both my visa and to get the paperwork in order. There was a lot of information that they gave me, so I would check out very carefully as to what the recruitment companies now do and what they can offer for you. Once you have your degree in order, the next step would be to obtain, to become registered with the NBCOT, which is the National Board Certification of Occupational Therapists in America. And you do need to do a written exam in order to become registered to work in America. You then need to have a license to practice in whichever state you're going to be working in. Now, if you're considering traveling and being a travel therapist and working in a number of states, you could also be obviously a travel therapist and work within one state. But if you're going to be considering working in a number of states, you'd have to obtain licensure for each of the different states. So that's quite a process. Sometimes it's a case of just doing a lot of paperwork. They are quite particular as to what continuing education you've been involved in, or what certificates aside from your degree, what other certificates you have obtained, the number of hours, and that depends on whether, if you've been involved in doing any writing of books, supervising students, or having mentoring and supervision yourself, or you've been involved in writing courses, taking courses. All of these kinds of things go to your benefit towards your continuing education. They do have a scoring system. So find out what the scoring method is, and what scores are required for the state where you're wanting to work. And that's something that you can check out with all of the three, with NBCOT, with AOTA, and with the recruitment company that you work with. The next piece of advice that I would give you is to make sure that when you interview and you discuss whatever it is you're discussing with the recruitment company, I highly recommend that you get as much as you can in writing before you leave the country where you are, where you've trained, or where you are at the time, and before you even arrive in America. It is known, and there are therapists who've come from elsewhere, such as from South Africa, who will set up they go for an interview, and my interview, for example, was all telephonic. It was before the times of possibility of Skype. It was before Zoom rooms and all of this kind of thing. So it's very important to get as much as you can documented and in writing, because there are situations where the conditions and the agreement that you come up with verbally will change once you arrive on American soil. So don't have that happen to you. Make sure that you get as much as you can in writing. The recruitment company will then, once you have all your paperwork and your licensing in order, you also have to obviously obtain a work visa. Some people might have American ancestry. I don't know how that works. And if you're wanting to live in America, then there'd be need for additional visas or for a green card. If you're wanting to study in America, I was exploring, for example, continuing doing my advanced master's with Prof. Kielhoffner, completing it with him, and doing my doctorate, which would have been absolutely amazing. The problem that I ran into, which is something you need to check out if you're considering doing further education in America, is the possibility for you to be able, the funding possibility. In my situation in those days, I was only able to get a stipend that would have covered very minimal living possibilities, and I wasn't allowed to do any work. That meant even privately, even if I was studying and I wanted to take on a private client or two, I would not be allowed to do that, and that was one of the reasons as why I did not continue doing my doctorate in America. In today's time, there are certain universities that do online studies, which is wonderful. So if you're wanting to continue with your studies and to go on to get the level which is now required in America, a lot of that could now happen online. There's lots of advances, lots of progress taking place. The basics, as I say, just to repeat, of what you will need in order: you need to make sure you have the appropriate level of your degree. You need to make sure you've passed the exam for America. Even if you have a degree and a license and you've been practicing working in a different country, you need to complete that exam again for America. You need to make sure that you complete all of the paperwork and the application to license in the state where you will be working. And there are a number of costs involved. There's a cost to apply and to register with the NBCOT. There's a cost to become a member of the AOTA, the American OT Association, and there's a cost to register or to obtain your license within the state where you'll be practicing. So there's a number of costs involved, and make sure that you have all of those in order. And I wish you a lot of success if you decide that you're wanting to work in America. There's certainly lots of opportunities, lots of potential for growth and expansion. America is one of the first countries where occupational therapy began to be recognized as a profession, and it's continued to have a tremendous amount of development in all sorts of different levels taking place. So if you're looking to work and to progress in your career as an occupational therapist, working for even a short time in America is definitely one of the ways that you could be able to do so. So I hope that's given you some information. If you have any other questions, do put a question in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer them either in the comments or to pick up on whatever your question is and to answer it in another video. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Do subscribe to this channel and stay tuned. I have some exciting interviews coming up in the new year, and some other exciting different videos in the pipeline. So stay tuned, sign up to the channel, and do be in touch. Shoshanah Shear of BeAHappyMom.com.